The scenario presents a protagonist waking up in a hospital with amnesia or confusion, being identified as someone who has been missing for 7 years. The stakes are heightened by the fact that even their family believes they are this missing person, despite the protagonist's insistence that they are someone else. This setup raises immediate questions. Identity crisis. Is the protagonist truly who they believe they are, or are they the missing person with amnesia? Could there be a psychological or supernatural explanation, e.g., memory suppression, body swap, or conspiracy? The missing person, who is this person they're being mistaken for? Why did they disappear 7 years ago? What circumstances led to their absence, and how does the protagonist resemble them? The car crash. Was the crash an accident, or was it orchestrated? Could it be tied to the missing person's reappearance or the protagonist's current predicament? Family and society's reaction. Why is everyone so convinced the protagonist is this missing person? Are they complicit in a larger scheme, or are they genuinely mistaken? What emotional weight does this carry for the family? The protagonist's truth. What is the protagonist's real identity, and how do they prove it? What's at stake if they can't? This premise could fit into several genres: psychological thriller, mystery, sci-fi, or even horror, depending on the explanation for the mistaken identity. Potential themes and conflicts: identity and self. The protagonists struggle to assert their identity against a world that denies it. Explores themes of selfhood, memory, and truth. This could delve into philosophical questions about what makes someone them. Trust and betrayal. The insistence of the family and others could suggest a conspiracy or a desperate need to believe their loved one has returned. The protagonist may question who they can trust. Reality versus perception. Is the protagonist's sense of identity reliable, or are they the unreliable narrator? This could lead to a twist where their perception is questioned. Isolation. Being surrounded by people who refuse to acknowledge their true self creates a profound sense of alienation, driving the protagonist to desperate measures to uncover the truth. Story development ideas. Here are some directions to expand the narrative, with possible explanations for the scenario. Psychological thriller, amnesia or conspiracy. The protagonist has partial amnesia from the crash, and their memories are fragmented. As they investigate, they uncover that the missing person was involved in something dangerous, e.g., a criminal organization, a secret experiment that led to their disappearance. The family's insistence could stem from grief-driven denial or manipulation by an external force, e.g., a cult, a government agency. The protagonist discovers clues, e.g., a journal, a hidden message that suggests the missing person left breadcrumbs to expose a larger truth. Twist: the protagonist is the missing person but underwent experimental memory alteration to escape their past. The crash triggered a partial return of their old identity. Sci-fi, body swap or cloning. The protagonist is a clone or a consciousness transferred into the missing person's body, part of a futuristic experiment. The hospital staff and family are either unaware or complicit in the cover-up. The car crash could be a failed attempt to eliminate the protagonist before they uncover the truth about their origins. They find physical evidence, e.g., surgical scars, anomalous medical records, that doesn't align with their memories. Twist: the missing person's consciousness is still dormant within the protagonist, creating moments of bleed-through where they experience memories or skills they shouldn't have. Mystery, mistaken identity. The protagonist physically resembles the missing person so closely that the mistake is plausible, e.g., a doppelganger or twin. The crash site holds clues, e.g., a second body, a mysterious item that point to the real missing person's fate. The family's belief could be driven by hope, but one family member begins to doubt and helps the protagonist investigate. Together, they uncover what happened 7 years ago, perhaps a crime the missing person witnessed or committed. Twist: the protagonist is revealed to be a sibling or relative who was erased from the family's history for reasons tied to the disappearance. Horror, supernatural or psychological. The protagonist is haunted by the missing person's spirit or cursed to take their place. Strange occurrences, e.g., visions, objects moving suggest a supernatural force at play. The family's behavior could be influenced by a malevolent entity or a shared delusion. The protagonist's investigation leads them to a dark secret about the missing person's disappearance, e.g., a ritual gone wrong. Twist: the protagonist died in the crash, and their current existence is a liminal state where they're trapped in the missing person's unresolved story. Character development. Protagonist: Start with their disorientation and fear, but give them a defining trait, e.g., stubbornness, analytical thinking that drives them to fight for their identity. Their arc could involve reclaiming their sense of self or accepting a new reality. The family, each member could have a distinct reaction, e.g., a parent clinging to hope, a sibling suspicious of the protagonist, or a spouse torn between love and doubt. Their motivations, grief, guilt, or something darker, add depth. The nurse-doctor, a hospital staff member, could be an ally who notices inconsistencies in the medical records or a gatekeeper hiding the truth. Their role could pivot the story toward answers or deeper mystery. The missing person, through flashbacks or uncovered evidence, paint a picture of who they were, a hero, a fugitive, or a victim. Their past drives the stakes of the protagonist's predicament. Plot outline examples: psychological thriller, Act 1. Disorientation. The protagonist wakes in the hospital, confused and in pain, hearing the name Daniel, not theirs. The nurse explains they were found unconscious after a car crash on a remote road. Their ID and belongings are missing. Family arrives overjoyed, calling them Daniel, a man missing for 7 years. The protagonist insists they're someone else, e.g., Alex, but no one believes them. They notice discrepancies, e.g., their reflection looks slightly off or their injuries don't match a typical crash. Goal: escape the hospital to find proof of their identity. Act 2. Investigation. The protagonist sneaks out and visits their supposed home, finding photos of Daniel that look eerily like them. Family members share conflicting stories about Daniel's disappearance, e.g., he was a journalist investigating corruption. They find a hidden clue, e.g., a locked box, a cryptic note suggesting Daniel was on the run. Someone, a sibling, a stranger, warns them to stop digging, hinting at danger. Conflict. The protagonist's memories are unreliable, flashes of another life, Daniel's, emerge, making them question their sanity. Act 3. Revelation. The protagonist uncovers evidence that Daniel was part of a witness protection program or a secret experiment. The crash was an assassination attempt meant for Daniel, but they survived by mistake. They confront the family, who admit they knew Daniel was in danger but thought he'd returned. A final twist reveals the protagonist is a reconstructed version of Daniel, created to lure out his enemies. Resolution. They must choose to embrace Daniel's identity to survive or risk everything to uncover their original self, knowing it might not exist. Continuation. The man they call Daniel. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret, a sterile cage where the world insisted I was someone else. My head throbbed, stitches tugging at my scalp like tiny accusations. The nurse, a woman with tired eyes and a name tag reading Clara, kept calling me Daniel. Every time she said it, my stomach twisted. My name was Alex. At least I thought it was. The fog in my mind made it hard to be sure of anything. "You're lucky to be alive, Daniel," Clara said, adjusting the IV drip. "The crash was bad. They found you in a ditch off Route 17, car totaled. No one else around." I tried to sit up, but pain lanced through my ribs. "I'm not Daniel," I rasped. "My name's Alex, Alex Carver. You've got the wrong guy." Her smile was pitying, like I was a child spinning a wild story. "The paramedics found your wallet. Daniel Ellis, born April 12, 1988. Your family's been notified. They're on their way." "My wallet?" I touched my face, expecting to feel something familiar, but my fingers brushed a stranger's jawline, sharper, rougher than I remembered. The mirror across the room was too far to see clearly, but dread coiled in my gut. "I need to see it. The wallet." Clara hesitated, then nodded. "I'll ask the doctor. Rest for now." Rest. How could I rest when the world was rewriting me? I closed my eyes, grasping at fragments of memory. A rainy street, headlights blinding me, the screech of tires. Then nothing. No hint of who I was before the crash, just a stubborn certainty that I wasn't Daniel Ellis, a man missing for 7 years. The door swung open, and a woman burst in, her face a mix of relief and anguish. She was in her 50s, gray streaking her dark hair, eyes red from crying. "Daniel," she whispered, rushing to my side. "Oh God, it's really you." I froze as she gripped my hand, her touch both desperate and foreign. "I'm not, don't say that," her voice cracked. "You're my son, you're Daniel, I'd know you anywhere." "I'm Alex," I said, pulling my hand back. "I don't know you." Her face crumpled, but she didn't argue. Instead, she sat, clutching a tissue, staring at me like I was a ghost she refused to let go. "You disappeared," she murmured. 7 years ago, after everything. We thought you were dead." "Everything?" I leaned forward, ignoring the pain. "What happened to him, to Daniel?" She flinched, as if the question were a blade. You were troubled, you left a note, said you couldn't stay. We looked for you, but—" Her voice trailed off, and she glanced at the door like she expected someone to interrupt. Before I could press her, a man entered, tall, broad-shouldered, with a face like mine but hardened by time. He stopped short, staring at me. "Jesus," he muttered, "it's true." "Who are you?" I demanded. "I'm Michael, your brother." His eyes narrowed, searching my face. "You really don't remember?" "I'm not Daniel," I said, my voice rising. "Why does everyone keep saying that?" Michael exchanged a look with the woman, his mother, I guessed. "He's confused," he said to her, then turned to me. "You've been gone a long time, Dan. A lot's changed." "Stop calling me that," I shouted, my head pounding. The room spun, and I gripped the bedrails to steady myself. "I need my things, my phone, my ID, something to prove who I am." Michael's jaw tightened. "They didn't find a phone, just the wallet and a note in your pocket." "A note?" My heart raced. "What did it say?" He hesitated, then pulled a crumpled paper from his jacket. It was smeared with blood, mine, I assumed. He unfolded it and read, his voice low. "Don't trust them, they're not your family." The words hit like a punch. The woman gasped, covering her mouth. Michael's eyes locked onto mine, not with concern, but with something colder, suspicion, maybe fear. "Who wrote it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "You tell me," Michael said. "You're the one they found it on." What's happening here? This continuation establishes the protagonist's disorientation and the immediate tension with the family, who are convinced he's Daniel Ellis. The introduction of the mysterious note plants a seed of paranoia. Is the family hiding something, or is the protagonist's mind playing tricks? The physical resemblance to Daniel and the lack of clear evidence about Alex keep the identity question ambiguous, while the crash and the note suggest a deeper conspiracy or danger tied to Daniel's disappearance. The last part. The truth in the mirror, the note burned in my hand. "Don't trust them. They're not your family." Michael's eyes bored into me, his expression unreadable, while his mother, Daniel's mother, sobbed quietly in the corner of the hospital room. My head pounded, the stitches in my scalp itching like a warning. I wasn't Daniel Ellis, I was sure of it. But every glance, every word from these strangers chipped away at that certainty. "I need to see the crash site," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "If I was there, maybe it'll jog my memory." Michael frowned. "You're not well enough, the doctor said." "I don't care what the doctor said." I swung my legs over the bed, ignoring the stab of pain in my ribs. "I'm going with or without you." He exchanged a glance with his mother, a silent conversation I wasn't privy to. Finally, he nodded. "Fine, but I'm driving." The road to Route 17 was a blur of gray skies and skeletal trees, the late afternoon light casting long shadows. Michael drove in silence, his hands tight on the wheel. I clutched the note, its blood-stained edges a grim reminder of the crash. My crash, or Daniel's. I couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was waiting in that ditch. We pulled up to a stretch of desolate highway, marked only by a faded skid mark and a gnarled guardrail. The air was cold, sharp with the scent of wet earth. I stepped out, my hospital slippers sinking into the mud. The ditch was shallow, littered with glass and twisted metal from what must have been Daniel's car. My car. I scanned the ground, desperate for something, anything, to prove I was Alex Carver. "Find what you're looking for?" Michael asked, his voice too close. He stood behind me, arms crossed, his shadow looming. "Not yet." I knelt, sifting through the debris. My fingers brushed something hard, a phone half buried in the mud. Its screen was cracked, but it powered on, displaying a lock-screen photo of a man who looked like me but older with haunted eyes. "Daniel," my breath caught. "This isn't mine." Michael's face darkened. "You sure about that?" Before I could answer, a memory hit me like a freight train, headlights swerving, a voice shouting, "You can't run forever." Not my voice, not my memory. I stumbled, clutching my head. Another flash, hiding in a dark alley, a briefcase in hand, someone whispering, "They'll kill you if they find it." Daniel's life bleeding into mine. "You okay?" Michael grabbed my arm, but I yanked free. "What did Daniel do?" I demanded. "Why did he disappear?" Michael's jaw clenched. He was in over his head. "Got mixed up with some bad people, smugglers, maybe worse. He said he had evidence, something big. Then he left a note and vanished. We thought he was dead until you." I stared at the phone, my hands shaking. I swiped, hoping for a miracle, and the screen unlocked, no password. A single text message glowed. "If you're reading this, you're already too late. Check the briefcase." Sent from an unknown number, time-stamped the night of the crash. "Briefcase?" I muttered. I scanned the ditch, my eyes landing on a glint of metal under a pile of leaves. I dug frantically, uncovering a battered leather case. Inside was a stack of documents, bank transfers, names, dates. A ledger of illegal transactions, implicating a local crime syndicate. And a photo, Me or Daniel shaking hands with a man whose face I didn't recognize but whose name was scrawled on the back, Vincent Cross. You shouldn't have opened that, Michael said, his voice low. I turned to find him holding a gun, his eyes cold. You were supposed to stay gone, Daniel. I'm not Daniel, I shouted, but the words felt hollow. The memories, the photo, the ledger, they were stitching together a truth I didn't want. Why are you doing this? Because you betrayed us, he said. You thought you could expose Cross and walk away. Mom covered for you, lied to the cops, but I knew you'd come back, and now you've brought this mess with you. The gun trembled in his hand. I saw it then, the pain behind his anger. He wasn't protecting the syndicate. He was protecting his mother, their family, from the fallout of Daniel's choices. But I wasn't Daniel. Or was I? Another memory surged, a fight with Michael years ago over money Daniel stole to fund his investigation. The guilt in his eyes, my eyes, matched the photo in the briefcase. I staggered back, the phone slipping from my hand. I didn't mean to hurt you, I whispered, the words Daniel's, not mine. Michael lowered the gun, tears in his eyes. Then why did you come back? I didn't answer. I couldn't. The crash, the note, the ledger, it all pointed to one truth. Daniel had tried to disappear, to become someone else. Alex Carver, me, but the past had clawed him back. Or had it? I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it for both of us. I turned and ran, the briefcase clutched to my chest, the sound of Michael's shouts fading behind me. The highway stretched ahead, endless and unforgiving. I didn't know if I was running from Daniel's enemies or my own fractured mind. But I knew one thing. I'd keep running until I found the man I was supposed to be. Resolution and closure, this ending reveals that the protagonist is likely Daniel Ellis, whose attempt to escape his dangerous past by assuming a new identity, Alex Carver, was undone by the crash and the return of suppressed memories. The ledger and the confrontation with Michael tie the car crash to Daniel's investigation into a crime syndicate, explaining his disappearance and the family's insistence on his identity. The note, "Don't trust them," was a warning from Daniel's subconscious or an ally, reflecting his fear of betrayal. Michael's betrayal stems from a mix of familial loyalty and resentment, adding emotional weight to the climax. The protagonist's final run leaves his identity ambiguous, embracing both Daniel and Alex, allowing him to reclaim agency while carrying the burden of his past. Why this works mystery resolved. The ledger and Michael's confession explain Daniel's disappearance and the crash, tying up the central question of why everyone insists the protagonist is Daniel. Emotional stakes. The confrontation with Mabout, whether he fully accepts being Daniel or continues searching for Alex. Thriller tone. The gun, the chase, and the unearthed evidence maintain suspense while delivering a payoff for the clues planted earlier, the note, the phone.